Dale, I'm an alcoholic. Got through that one. I didn't know what was going to come out. Couple of things before I start my story. When I came up here tonight, I hadn't been up here in a year or two, and Tom, I knew him back before he got sick, and Wallace, and they've just been an inspiration to me, because I'd see them all over North Carolina, everywhere, and I'd shoot out those little weekend things up in Asheboro, here and there, and daggone Dad Wallace be. I said, Wallace, you go to every one of these meetings. And that's how I got to know him. He'd go up there and get to sharing. And so Tom Ivister called me one time, and he says, we had a speaker fall out down there. He said, I want you to go talk for him. I said, you do? He said, yeah. I've never been nowhere to talk before. And he says, you'll do great. I said, where is it? He says, well, you're going to fly to Dallas, and then you'll go to Oklahoma. I said, whoa. He was talking all that circuit stuff, you know. And I did that once, and I ain't been again since. But I flew down there, and we had a hard landing, and it busted the tires on the airplane in Dallas. I mean, this thing gets comical. Then they come out in hazmat suits to get us off the plane. Half of them were sliding down a blown up thing going down, and I ain't sliding down that thing. and it turned into a mess. And we finally got us on a bus, carried us into the airport. And I got in there and I said, I haven't seen, there's supposed to be somebody here to pick us up. And there's nobody here. They said, well son, the guy said, son, you're going to have to go outside. You're in the security area back in the back. You're going to have to go outside where all the people come in. This is not a public area. Oh, see, I didn't have no sense to know that. So I go out there and I wander out there, and there's this guy standing up there with my name on the sign. You know? Now, these people that talk on the circuit, they used to all this stuff. I'm not used to it. And so I go around there and I get my bag. I go around over to him, I introduce myself and everything, and this kid grabs my bag and pulls it. And I said, where's he going with my bag? And I pulled the thing back, and he pulled it again. I pulled it back. He said, the guy picked me up and said, Dale, he's just trying to be nice to you. Let him carry your bag. Well, I ain't never had nobody carry no bags for me, you know? And so I let him carry the bag, went on along like I knew what I was doing. But I spoke that Friday night, and I met a guy that had 50 years there from Raleigh. At the time, and this is a long time ago, this has been 20 years ago, and this guy had so many years up there, he got in the trouble. We were going to get ice cream after I spoke, you know, and I got through it okay, and everybody clapped, and I said, well, I guess I did okay, and I got out there to go in there, and I said, if you got 50 years, you're bound to have known my daddy. He said, well, you talking about Dale Jr.? I said, yeah. He said, oh, yeah. He said, I knew him. I knew him the first time he come in and the second time he came in, you know. And I said, second time? He said, oh, yeah, he went back out for 10 years trying to see if he could do better. And so I started learning people that knew my daddy in AA. And the reason I tell you all that is because I fell in love with AA. You know, all the experiences and things I've had in AA that just never happened to me when I was working at Term Plan Finance trying to collect money, and Sanders Ford trying to sell cars and all that stuff, you know. I mean, just this stuff never happened to me. And so I'm really glad to be up here tonight. And tonight I brought Rashid up here, my good friend, and he's the last guy I carried through the steps. And I got to tell this on him. He don't have no idea I'm going to tell this, but I'm going to tell him. He's the only sponsee I've ever had that pushed me through the steps. You know, he would call me up and say, well, he said, I'm off this afternoon. And I'd say, yeah, that's good. We're going to get together tomorrow. Can we get together today? And he kept on with me. And I got him, we went through all those steps, and I don't know how long, it wasn't much, 2 or 3 months. We went through all those steps and everything, and I remember He asked me, he said, well, what do we do now that we're through them now? Well, what are we going to do now? We go back through them again? I said, yeah, you're going to go back through them again, but with somebody else. You know? And the other day, he jumped up and got a chip, and I got the biggest feeling of guilt you've ever seen in your life. I said, oh my God, I didn't even know he's having an AA birthday. And he got up and picked up a chip, and got, what was it, 6 months? 7 months. 7-month chip, you know. I mean, my God. He's been hanging around for 3 or 4 months, you know, been through the steps. Hell, I thought he was getting a year or something. I said, I done forgot it. You know, so he's the fastest one I ever had that went through the steps with me, you know. And then at the same time, I had another guy come through just to show you the difference. Another guy came through, and I suspect he might be in some trouble. I don't know. I just suspect it. But he got him a girlfriend about 2 months ago. And I don't hear from him anymore. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm not important. And so I've been watching him. I called him up. He said, I've been meaning to call you. And you know how it is, you know, when you're stressed out. And so more will be revealed on him. If I ever get up here again, I'll let y'all know how that turns out. But I'm going to tell you, it's a record that don't turn out real good. But he's a good boy, and he's going through his stuff, and he's on the 9th step. But my point is this. I've been here 30 years, which ain't no record, but I still work with newcomers. And if you don't pass that message, you gotta pass it to keep it. You know, and so I've been slacking a little bit myself the last 20, 30 days. I had a lot of stuff going on in my life with my income and my wife and all that stuff, you know, and and I've been kind of struggling myself, you know, so I kind of took some time off for myself, but I'm going to have to get back into it. But anyway, I just wanted to say that before I got started. And also I brought my daughter up here, my youngest daughter. I don't think she's ever heard me talk before. But I brought her up here with me, and my grandbaby was going to come, but she couldn't get off work. But I can tell you this, when I was drinking liquor, you know, they didn't want to hang around me much. You know, they kind of the other way. You know, Daddy's home, and you hear doors slamming around the house. You know, they'd be gone. So if you're sober and you know it, things come back to you and good things happen. I mean, things that you don't even think about. I ain't talking about selfish stuff like you make more money and you do this and do that and you buy a new car. And I ain't talking about that stuff. I'm talking about things happen that you don't know about. Like you get relationships back with your granddaughter, and you get relationships back with your daughter, and you get relationships back with your wife, and things start going good. You know, and they've been going good for me. And I've had some tragedy in my sobriety. But as long as I keep doing this, I'm okay. I'm okay, you know. I was born and raised in Raleigh. And my daddy had the Raleigh Knee-High Bottling Company. Knee-High Orange and Grape and Royal Crown Cola. And I came up with that stuff sitting around the house. And when I went to school, I was a good student. I was an A-B student when I tried. But when I didn't try, I was a C-D and borderline fail. And so going to school was good for me. We lived in Raleigh at 5 Points. We walked back and forth from the school. It was a good life, you know. Back in those days, you know, you didn't have to worry about shootings and this and that and things going on in the neighborhood. I mean, you could just turn your kids out and let them go play, you know. And I came on out of school, and I went into Josephus Daniels Junior High School, and that's when I started changing, you know. I got on up there, and I got to be, you know, 13, 14, 15, started getting on up there toward that, you know, just waiting on my driving license and that kind of stuff. And me and the boys, you know, we started doing things like, let's go out to the Yellow Light, that's out on the Durham Highway, and get some beer. They'll sell miners beer out there. So we go out to the Yellow Light, get those tall boys. you know. I'd get in the back seat of that car. I'd sit back there and I'd drink about half of that tall boy, and I'd roll that window down and just blow it right back out the window. It did not want to go with me. But I had peer pressure. I had 3 or 4 or 5 guys in the car with me, and they drink it and they get the giggles and all that stuff. And I said, boy, I bet they feel good. I wish I could get that. And I drank that other half, and then I spewed every time I drank. So a little bit later on, as we were trying it, I was going to Broughton High School at the time. And a little bit later on, I tried it again at another place, and I had to get a fake ID card. Back then, they had a draft. You know, it wasn't all volunteer, we'll pay you more money thing. It was you had to go. You know, when you got of age, you're gone. And I got this ID card, and I split it, got a Remington typewriter and some ink eradicator, hit that birth date on there. It just went away. Put a drop of that stuff on that ink, and it just zero, like it wasn't ever there. I said, man, this stuff is wonderful. Put it up on that Remington typewriter and give her one hit like that, and all of a sudden, I was 18. You know? Glued the edges back together. Got with them same buds that could drink. We went down to across from State College. It's a place called the Crossroads Tavern. We went in there, and they kind of pushed me out in front. You know how they kind of push you when you're going in there? You're illegal, you know. You're not supposed to be going in there. They kind of pushed me out in front. And I went out front, walked in there, and this big, hairy bartender said, let's see some ID, kids. And I reached in there, and I got that fake ID out, and I handed it over there to him. You know, he looked at it. He said, boy, you barely made it. Threw it back down. And I'm thinking, I'm in. And he checked the other ones, got over there, and I got in. Well, I got back there in the back, up against the wall, near the bathroom, you understand, because. So anyway, I got when I got by that bathroom, they brought out this pitcher of beer, Bach beer. I poured me a big old glass of it, drank half of it, and I said, well, it's time to spew. And nothing happened. And I sat there, and I just sat there for a minute, real still. And boy, all of a sudden, I got that boom feeling down there. And it came up, and it hit my ears. My ears started getting hot and everything. Everything started looking better and everything around. And I said, so this is what they're talking about. This is what they're talking about. I took another little sip because I didn't want to overdo it. Took another little sip. I said, man, this is the best feeling I ever had in my life. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this every time I get a chance until I die. I made up my mind. And I got up. I said, I got to go look at myself in the mirror. So I got up and run into the bathroom. I mean, I tell this stuff because it was funny as hell to me. I looked in the bathroom. I wanted to see if I had changed. Like, you know, I turned into another person or something. And it was really riveting to me. I walked in there and looked at myself like this. When I had some hair, I straightened it up and everything. And I looked and I said, man, you, old boy, you're looking pretty good. You know? I unlocked that door and I went back out there, and immediately I could tell the women were looking at me. They was looking at me. Easy, girls. You know what I mean? When you got that feeling, who in the hell would not drink? I mean, really. I mean, who would not drink? And but that was as good as it got. I'm here to tell you all tonight. I don't remember anything after about the second or third glass. And I remember a man shaking my foot in the churchyard. I was laying down, you see. The dew was settling on me. It was about 11 or 12 at night. And he shook my foot like he said, you all right, son? And I came to, and I said, hey, how you doing? He said, are you okay, son? I said, well, yeah, I'm okay. I was just tired, taking a nap. And he said, yeah, I see. And he got his dog and went on. He was walking his dog, you know. And that's how the first time I ever got high turned out. That's the best it got. That's the best it got. Later on, I just get into more trouble and more trouble and more trouble. You know, I was 16 years old then, or maybe 17. No, 16. So when I turned 17, when I turned 17, the first thing I did was I quit high school. I said, I'm quitting high school. I'm tired of this mess. I ain't sitting around here doing this mess. Homework, I don't like homework. I ain't gonna do that. And I was walking downtown. And I caught a bus downtown. I was walking downtown and I saw this great big thing outside the post office that showed a boat crashing through a wave, and the wave just going all out to the side and everything. And it said, Coast Guard, join now. So I walked in the post office and joined the Coast Guard. All right. When I was in the Coast Guard, the drinking picked up, you know. I had 2 drunk drivings going into the Coast Guard while I was in there, and a couple of captains masked for getting in trouble. After that, I did get an honorable discharge, but my dad had to come pick me up from Raleigh. I didn't have no driving license. I had a car up there. It was 2 payments behind. And so that's how my life was going in the Coast Guard. So I pulled my 4 years in the Coast Guard. I'm 21. I'm in Raleigh. They're selling my car because I can't make the payments on it. But I'm still drinking, you know. A little bit later on, I met who was to be my wife. And she was dating a guy. Came in there, and I was sitting at the bar drinking beer, and she was sitting up there. Well, she was looking good too, man. I said, my God, what's that girl doing up there all by herself? I mean, I wouldn't leave her up there, you know. If I was dating a gal that looked that good, I wouldn't leave her sitting up there by herself, so I would have been got me a beer. And I said, you by yourself? She said, no, I'm on a blind date. I said, I was with Bob Whitaker. I said, I know Bob Whitaker. I said, where is he? I said, he's shooting the shuffleboard somewhere. I said, well, look, I promise you, I ain't going to leave you up here by yourself if you was with me. You know what I mean? I ain't going to leave you here and go shoot shuffleboard. I'd be more interested in you. And so I said, can I get your number? She said, yeah. She said, you should give me a number, you know, the matchbook deal. Everything. And I dated her 45 days straight and got married. Now, I was big on decisions. But it was the best decision I ever made. You know, well, we've been married 55 years. And I hear about people with 3 or 4 wives and all this and coming and going and all that stuff and everything. And I get to thinking, man, what was the difference? And the difference was it was her, you know. And I got in AA and I looked back on it. And she had Jesus, you know. You know, she was a Baptist. She was raised in the church and everything. And when I'd go awry, she knew what to do. You know, she just let me go. Go ahead on. She'd go to the movies. You know, and so that went on for years and years. I drank 31 years. I started when I was 16. I got to AA when I was 47. You know, and so anyway, I met her and we moved to Wilmington from Raleigh and bought a house. And my drinking continued. No matter where you go, there you are. You know? And it was I didn't know it at the time, but it was a geographic cure. You know, I said, I'm tired of these policemen up in Raleigh. My God, there's one on every corner. You know, there's one on every corner. And that was part of my decision, so let's move. And so I liked boats at the time, so I said, well, go down to Wrightsville Beach and live. And so I moved to Wrightsville Beach. In 73, I think, it was 1973. Took a job at the Chevrolet place there. I hadn't been there a year or so, and the guy that owned the place, he came out there and he saw me painting some lines on the asphalt. The guy that owned the place. He came out there and he said, what you doing? I said, well, I'm painting. We're going to start this leasing business, I heard. I'm going to paint some lines out there, and when we put the lease cars over here, they'll be separated from these cars and everything. He said, well, who told you to do that? I said, ain't nobody told me to do it. I said, I just figured it'd be neater to keep them separated. He came back out there about a week later and made me the manager. You know? So if you got you a job somewhere, the boss is always looking. He's looking at you. You think he ain't looking, but he's looking. The boss is looking for people that'll do stuff and not be asked to do it. You know, I was the type of person who always asked me to do something. And so I made manager there, and I stayed there about 2.5 years before they fired me for drinking. And he called me in his office one day. Dale said, come on in here. And when he said close the door, I said, uh-oh, this ain't good. And I closed the door. He said, I'm going to probably go home and get drunk on Scotch whiskey, but I've got to fire you. I said, don't get drunk. I said, don't get drunk on account of me. And he said, well, I probably will because, I've just kind of liked you a lot. But you just drinking too much up here. Well, I'd wrecked a couple of demonstrators. But he said, you'd run my insurance up terrifically. But anyway, I left there and I figured, well, I'll just try going in business myself. So I had $3,000 or $3,100, something like that, in my Christmas savings account at the dealership. And they gave me that money when I left, and I bought me 10 $300 cars and got me a $250 corner, got me a rock lot, had a used trailer on it, 8 by 30 foot trailer. I run the rats out of there. And once I got the rats out, I put some carpet in it, painted it, made an office out of it, and I went into car business. And I got to tell y'all, this is the best business I have been in my life. It's just the best, being in the car business. And so I went in that, we stayed in it, and we went through all these recessions and stuff, and I was lucky because I really didn't need much back then. So when I didn't sell nothing, I really didn't need that much. And we went through it, but my drinking kept escalating and escalating. During my time, up before I come to Alcoholics Anonymous, I had like 7 or 8 DUIs. And I remember when I came into AA, I told my sponsor, I said, well, that ain't really bad, is it? 7 or 8 DUIs, that's over a 31-year period. He said, yeah, it sounds kind of bad to me. He said, but I just know hundreds of people that ain't never had a DUI. There's a message in there somewhere for you, Dale. And I said, yeah, maybe you're right. But I didn't get but one every 4 or 4.5 years, if you divide it out. And I was trying to make myself look innocent when I was really an alcoholic. I was trying to get out of Alcoholics Anonymous. The judge had sentenced me. He gave me 20 meetings. 20. 20. That's a lot of meetings. Anybody could pick this AA stuff up in 2-3 meetings. And that's what my thinking was. And so I stayed. And I remember one time he told me, he says, what we're going to do is we're going to go through these steps. And you're going to learn how to live without alcohol, what you're going to learn how to do. I said, I already know how to quit. He said, you do? I said, yeah. He just loved it when I come up with these ideas when I told him stuff. I said, I've quit twice, 6 months at the time, 2 times. He said, did you go back to drinking? I said, yeah. He said, well, now you missed the point. He said, the point is we're going to stop and stay stopped. I said, oh, I get it. You mean I can't drink anymore for the rest of my life? What about when we have celebrations? What about birthday parties? What about parties you go to? My family, they drank at funerals. And I just couldn't imagine a life not drinking, period. Now I can't imagine life taking a drink, period. I just can't imagine it. If I take one, I'm off to the races. One of them, I take one drink and I got 2 problems. The one I had when I took the drink and the drinking problem. And so I started thinking, that's a long time not never taking a drink. He said, we do this one day at a time. I said, okay. So it took me 4 months in AA with the sponsor before I ever surrendered. I was in AA 4 months and did not drink, but I was not an alcoholic yet because I had not admitted defeat. I was still searching and scouring around somewhere for a way out. You know, I was a pretty smart guy. You know, I figured a way out of this thing. And I tried to think of everything to get out. And finally, I just surrendered completely after 4 months. I said, hey, I'm going to try this thing. If it works, it's good. If it don't work, it ain't. And here I stand right now. It worked. You know, I didn't think it would work. My daddy had 22 years when he died. And I've got 30 now, and I wasn't going to stay in but 6 months. I remember telling her, I'll try it 6 months. I'll quit 6 months before. And then I got a daughter that's got 21 years. She's been sober almost as long as my daddy was. You know, but she saw his alcoholism and my alcoholism. She saw both of them. And she said, and she decided she'd quit. And she quit. And she stopped for a year and a half before she ever told me. And when she told me that Christmas, I said, well, why come you didn't tell me before now? You knew I was in AA. He said, well, you know, I didn't know if I was going to stay or not. And that made perfectly good sense to me because that's the way I was when I came in. That's what that 4 months was about. I just didn't know if I was going to stay or not. And so I had to kind of get to my innermost self, be sold on the deal. And once I got that done, I was off to the races then. And then they would tell me to do stuff like, when we got finished with the steps, I'd ask them, say, what are we going to do, go through the steps again? He said, no, you're going to go through them with somebody else. And then that's when I learned to go out, and he said, start raising your hand. Well, the first person that I got, I said, man, I might have to ask my sponsor if I didn't sponsor yet. That was about 7 months, 7.5 months. And he said, you're ready. He said, we'll have you through the other ones before you ever get that far. I said, go ahead and take him. So I told him, I said, took him over. We got the books at the bookstores. I told him about Bill, Bob, and the boys, and we read in the book and all that stuff, you know. Everything I knew I was telling this guy, and he went and got drunk. I called the sponsor up. I told him, I said, you know, he went and got drunk. He said, get another one. So about a week later, another guy asked me. Got the books out, Bill, Bob, and the boys, you know. Told him all that stuff, you know. He got drunk. Well, when the third guy, he did the same thing. He got drunk. I went to my sponsor and I told him, I said, look, I think maybe I better set chairs up. You know, had some ashtrays back. I would clean out the ashtrays and wash up in the kitchen and all and everything. I'm killing off newcomers. He said the 12th step, this was the best lesson I ever had. He said, the best lesson you'll get is what you just got. He said, have you drank that thing? I said, hell no, I'm doing this AA thing. You know? He said, well, you're batting 1,000. That's exactly how AA works. You try to carry the message. Look at the 12th step. And I looked at it and it said, we tried to carry this message. You know, it said, it don't say we saved them. You know? And so I found out that AA was not like making up a list of how successful you are with your sponsees. It's who can you help to get straight again, and them and the people that want it will get it, and the people that don't want it, they ain't gonna get it. I mean, it's just that simple. But I still try to sell them though. Now, it's a natural, I think, because when you're in the car business, you got to try and sell something. You know, I point out to them how bad they do when they get drunk. Oh, man, that was a pretty drunk. But I learned everything by hard knocks. I learned everything getting in AA by hard knocks. And I learned everything that they taught me in AA by hard knocks. I screwed up everything I did, but one thing I didn't do was drink. You know? The fourth guy that I got, he got sober. Let's hear it for Steve. He got, you might say he saved me. But but he got sober. And the next guy I got, he got sober. And then Steve, he got through that, and he started sponsoring one or two people. They started getting sober. Then I saw how it was working. I'd sponsor somebody, and I'd get me another one. And then he'd go out and sponsor somebody, and it would kind of mushroom, this AA thing. You know, and I got thinking, gee, I'm a part of something that's pretty integral in this world, and that's Alcoholics Anonymous. Alcoholics Anonymous has gone from 2 people sitting at a daggone coffee table to 2.5 million. I mean, how does that happen? You know, there's something here. And I'm going to tell y'all what it is. It's God. That's what it is. You see, I would never have nothing to do with him. My sponsor told me in the beginning, he said, listen, if you will, he said, when you get up in the morning, he said, just ask God to give you the power to stay sober and to direct your thinking. And the first thought was, ain't nothing wrong with my thinking. You know, then I said, I better do what he says. He's usually right. And so I did it, and I started doing it, and I still do it. 30 years later, I still do it. Asked him this morning when I got up to direct my thinking. Nothing's changed in AA, you know. I've changed. You know, I go along with the AA program, and that's what's changed. I told him clearly, I don't believe in all that God stuff. And he said, well, it's okay you don't. He said, just do it anyway. I said, okay. And so I did it anyhow. You know, he asked me to do a prayer just before the meeting. We went back there and said a prayer. 4 or 5 of us back there, you know. And it's like old hat now. It just doesn't bother me anymore, you know. And the deal is, ever since I've been asking him to give me the power to stay sober for today and direct my thinking, I have not drank. And I look back on it, you know, and I just have not drank. I forget it sometimes in early. I forgot it, but I don't forget it anymore. I'm not a deeply, deeply religious guy, you know, a Bible thumper at the church or something, but my daughter that I brought up here tonight, about 25, 28 years ago, a long time ago, she gave me a little daily reader. And it had a little Bible verse on it, you know, and I'd look at it. Then I'd say, well, wonder what that means. And then that brought on buying a Bible. So go up and I get this education Bible or something. Put it over there beside me. I look at that thing, you know, it looked like a cockroach. No, I don't want to read that. And I'd go 3 or 4 days and not read it. And I'd hear her coming in the door, that gal sitting right there. I'd hear her coming in the door. And I'd look over and I'd say, oh my God. I'd thumb through it, get to the right date, do like that, throw it in the trash can real quick like I've been. She come in, I see you've been reading. I said, yeah, I get on every day. You know? And it is just funny how a human being is. What they'll do to try to get around something, not do something. And now it's just like, I ain't going a day without it. I look forward to it because what's it going to teach me? What's it going to show me? You know, my wife, when I had about, I don't know, in 2000 she had the stroke. I had 8, 9 years then. She had a stroke, and she's in a wheelchair. And she's 100% disabled. And I got 3 girls that work down there and keep her all day, every day at the house. And you know, that was nothing like buying a new boat and going skiing. You know, spend all your money on that instead of doing what you want to do. Selfish and doing what you're supposed to do. You know? And I had a struggle with that. You know, I said, is this all I'm going to do all the rest of my life? Just look after her? Well, you know, that might not be a bad idea because she looked after me the whole time I was drunk. And so I learned a lot coming through here. Tonight I had to make arrangements to come up here and talk to y'all. I had to make arrangements for the girl to stay late. Because it'll take us a couple hours to get back. 2.5 hours. And I'm glad I can do it. I've been able to do it so far. And you know what? The man upstairs is kind of seeing fit that I had the money to pay those people. I said, how in the hell am I going to pay 3 salaries with no job? You know, and then some good deals would come along, you know. And I said, well, I'm going to rent this for this. Or somebody will move out of one of the, I had property that I rented. Somebody would move out and I'd rent to another person and they pay me $1,000 a month more than the first person did. I said, well, I'm glad they moved out. I was kind of sad when they moved out. I said, oh, yeah, they're moving and everything. And then when they come over, they said, wish, I'm pretty smart. You know, I was smart about this, you know. It's crazy how you do in life, you know. It's crazy how I do anyway. But it's made me know what I'm doing. I got the guy that the first guy that got sober. I've had 2 sponsors, and my first sponsor died. He moved to Raleigh and committed suicide. And he had 27 years in the program, and I didn't know what was that. 3 years later, I found out what happened to him. You know, he got hooked on those sleeping pills. Those things you take that help you sleep, or the Lunesters, and his girlfriend of 10 years before told me, said, oh yeah, he used to take 2 or 3, 4 of them pills. I said, you can't take that many of them pills. She said, well, he did. He said he'd take whatever he had to go to sleep at night. And they're very habit for him, and I didn't know it. And so I figured out, it took me 3 years, but I figured out why he killed himself. He didn't know he killed himself. He would get up and sleepwalk every night. He'd go in there and cook breakfast, eat breakfast, get back in the bed. In the morning, she said, what were you doing in there cooking in the middle of the night? He said, I wasn't in there cooking in the middle of the night. And she told me all about it. And if you got somebody that's living with them, you know that. So I found out about that stuff. So I'm still learning in AA. I know nothing about pills and junk. You know. But what brought me to AA was I had a wreck. And I was doing pretty good in the car business. I'd opened up that car business. I was doing pretty good. And I had a wreck. I went down to Carolina Beach one night, and I was drinking down there. And I got ready to come back to Riceville Beach from Carolina Beach. And I jumped in that new car. I just bought a new Lincoln about 3 or 4 months before. And I was really doing good. And I got in that car and I went around and didn't make it quite to Riceville Beach. I made it up Oleander Drive where Flip's Barbecue is around Wilmington, and I hit a van. And they went to one hospital, a man and his wife and 2 kids. And I went to the other hospital. I got the worst end of the deal. I got a crushed chest and 19 stitches up here. And he got like 3 stitches where his head hit on the thing that flops down. And they got shook up bad, but I was real blessed that it didn't hurt them. But I had to look at that lawsuit for 3 years. And I think that lawsuit was part of what kept me sober in AA. I think if I hadn't had that, I just believe God placed it right together for me. I said, man, if I go out and drink again, what if I do something like that and kill somebody? You know? So they had the lawyers on me for 3 years, and they finally settled it. And I remember that. I took a nap for about 1.5 hours. It's the first sleep I'd really had in like 2 or 3 years with that. And then that's what brought me into AA, those 20 meetings. But I think things happen the way they happen for a reason. And that was probably the only way you could get me here. And the first guy that got sober, I'll tell you how it ended with him. He turned out to be just the best AA I've ever seen in my life. He's got like 28 years now. And he turned out to be my sponsor. You know, he's got great sobriety. He sponsors people. He's just the kind. Loves his family. He just really turned out a wonderful guy. When I got him, he could hardly talk. He was damaged. But he turned out to be a wonderful man. And I told him, I said, look, I've had 2 sponsors die. I said, there's nothing you don't know about me. And there's nothing I don't know about you. I know everything about you. I said, why don't we sponsor each other, lean on each other, since we kind of been in this deal together, except for a year or 2. And he said, man, that sounds like a good idea. And that's what I'm doing, And so we kind of co-sponsor. I call him my sponsor. He calls me his sponsor. But we kind of stick together. And it made me think about Ivester and this bird over here. They stayed together so long. And when you get in this thing, I like the camaraderie. I like the idea of us doing it together. This ain't no, I did this and I did that. We did it together, And so it's been good to be. I'm yakking too long here. Anyway, I'd like to appreciate everybody for inviting me up here. Thank you, Wallace, for inviting me up here. Said, I love all you guys. I love to come to an AA meeting, especially when there's newcomers. Because when I came new, I felt like I want nothing. I love the newcomers. Because they'll just worry you silly. I get out there with them every day and sit out in the yard with them outside. I sit out there with them, and I just love all them guys. And I just never was like that. I just never was like that. If they want some help, I'm here to help. If they don't, then they can mosey on. They're going to do it their way anyhow. But AA as an institution, whatever you would call it, organization, I ain't getting out. You can't have my seat. I'm going to stay in here and I'm going to keep doing what I was taught to do by my sponsor. And I hope you guys do the same thing. And thank you for inviting me.